I just want to share, I guess, Jennifer, on a little bit of personal thoughts around it. I mean, we talk about a lot of good stuff on, virtual working, but for me, I think there's a couple of things that I always bear in mind when it comes to working remotely. So things that to be mindful of, for example, with all the greatness of technology, sometimes it does fail us. So the key is just to be patient, I guess.
Yeah.
Like when the calls doesn't get through for whatever reason, for example. Or, you do have people who are very shy and they don't like to turn their cameras on. I know I feel that way sometimes, so that's okay as well. People have different preferences. Be very mindful of time zones, especially if you are talking to people in, I don't know, Asia or Americas at the same time. So little things like that, I guess, will help make the whole, let's say, working relationship easier for everyone.
So I was talking about time zones and how you manage that in a team. One of the teams I was in, we had what we called the Pajama Rule, and because we were dealing with people in the Americas and Asia, actually even as far as Australia and Calgary, I think those were our two, opposite points of the clock, as it were. I mean, I had the luxury of being based in Europe, so it was always the middle of my day. But for the poor people in Canada and Australia who were at the two extremes, it was very often antisocial hours when we were trying to get the entire team together. So that's where we came up with this Pajama Rule, which was, yes, you need to switch your camera on, but let's get real. If it's 4 a.m. and you've got out of bed to join a call, it's enough that you got out of bed to join the call. You don't need to look presentable. You don't need to turn your camera on. And same, we would also think about it at the other end. Okay, it's late at night. Again, people might be in their comfy clothes, almost getting ready for bed sometimes. Thinking about, okay, if people have kids at home, sometimes doing something sort of early evening is actually the worst possible. Let's hold on, wait until it's much later in the evening, kids are in bed and people can focus again. So that flexibility around how people show up and when they show up, I think is important, because if you're in that kind of sweet spot as we are in Europe often, it can be easy to overlook that other people are not in a very comfortable time of day necessarily.
If I can just build on that one, Jennifer, actually, and refer to the current crisis we are facing with COVID-19, where many of us are actually now housebound. In the UK, for sure, this is the last day for children being at school, and in many other countries, they've already stopped. So we are facing not just time zone challenges, but also challenges that there are more people in the building whilst you're trying to have meetings. So my husband set up an office in the spare room at the front. I have my normal home office, and we will all be finding a way to work between those and to also manage the childcare and walk the dog. So I think that's also something worth including in our videos, so that people can see that we have experience without those challenges, so we can help them overcome those challenges as well as begin new styles of virtual working.
Yeah, no, it's a good one. I mean, because I've been a long-term remote worker, I have the luxury of a very nice home office setup. I mean, you can see it behind me. I have my flip chart here for working, and I have this quiet, calm, beautiful view out to medieval Delft. But there's a young boy 1 floor below me with his sound cancelling headphones on, trying to study for his end exams. My husband is elsewhere in the house working, and we have another teenager Netflixing in another part of the house. So one of the things we're lucky we were ready for that, because that was a dynamic that we sort of anticipated in the way our lifestyles are. But if you can find a quiet space, and if you can have good enough speed on your broadband so that you're not bothered when one of the kids starts Netflixing or YouTubing, that's great. It's not a luxury everybody has. I've also lived in parts of the world where there just was not very great internet available. But anything you can do to create a slightly separate space, or to consider scheduling if you've got multiple people in the house for when you are going to be doing calls and whatnot, that can help. Hanss, what's your experience? I know you've done some, you mentioned in your introduction some rollouts globally, also with locations, time zones, very different to your own. How did you manage that kind of 24/7, but not 24/7 in that situation?
Well, it's a little bit what's already mentioned. Of course, we had people all over the world. So, for example, we have people in New Zealand and in Australia, but also in Asia and in America. So, the timing of the virtual meetings was all over the day and all over the night. So you get a different type of work pace. Sorry. You start sometimes very early. So I had meetings starting at 3:30 in the morning or 4 in the morning. Well, you just get a different type of working day, I think. Often you have to get up very early. You have your morning session up to 6 or 7 in the morning. Then a breakfast, and for example, going to the office, but getting home early. Do your own stuff, your personal stuff, and then in the evening have a session with another part of the world. And that was more or less for a year, 2 years for me, the normal day routine.
Yeah.
Your life is a little bit changing, I think. You really get used to do everything virtually. Even if you go to the office and you have a session with some colleagues, where even colleagues are in the neighborhood of you in the same office, you do it virtually because you're just used to it.
Yeah.
You're getting used to people sitting the whole day with a headphone on because all their work is virtually.
Yeah.